Nothing could be finer than a Buffalo win in Carolina, and the Bills delivered exactly that. A complete performance, the kind fans have been begging to see, with an offense that dominated on the ground and a defense that looked reborn. After back-to-back losses and what felt like an eternal bye week, Buffalo came into Charlotte and reminded everyone exactly why they're a contender. Final score? Bills 40, Panthers 9. A blowout that wasn't just needed, it was demanded. Let's start with the man of the hour, James Cook. 19 carries, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, all in 3 quarters. That's not just a good game. That's a franchise-defining, history-making performance. The most rushing yards by a Bills player in a single game since 1976. That's nearly 50 years. And what makes it even crazier, Cook didn't even touch the field in the fourth quarter. Had this game been close, he might have gone for 250, maybe even more. The vision, the explosiveness, the patience, it was all on display. The lanes were there, and Cook hit them with purpose. He was slipping through defenders, breaking tackles, and making something out of nothing. It was one of those games where every time he touched the ball, the crowd leaned forward, waiting for the fireworks. But let's not act like he did it alone. That offensive line deserves its flowers. They mauled the Panthers up front. Reggie Gilliam was phenomenal as a lead blocker. Tight and got in on the action. Even the wide receivers were sealing the edge and making plays in space. This was a complete effort from the offense when it came to establishing the run. 12 rushing first downs, 245 total rushing yards, against a Panthers defense that, statistically, had been stout against the run. Coming into the game, Carolina was 7th in the NFL in expected points added per run and had only given up 131 rushing yards total in their last 3 games. The Bills almost doubled that in one afternoon. This wasn't just about execution. It was about imposing their will. Now, on the flip side, the passing game continues to be a mixed bag. Josh Allen's stat line looks okay on the surface. 12 completions on 19 attempts for 163 yards and a touchdown. But it lacked rhythm. There's no sugarcoating that. At times, it looked disjointed. And once again, Khalil Shakir emerged as the bright spot. 6 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. That opening drive touchdown was a thing of beauty. Josh read the blitz perfectly, got the ball out quick, Shakir made a man miss, and it was off to the races. But outside of that, it felt like the passing game never quite clicked. There were too many empty plays. Too many sequences that kill drives. A perfect example. Late in the first quarter, the Bills are in scoring position, 1st and 10 at the Panthers' 23. They run for no gain. Then an incomplete pass. Then Allen takes a sack. They settle for 3. That's the kind of drive that should end in the end zone. On another drive, they had 3rd and 1 at the 9-yard line. Easy conversion with the tush-push coming, but a penalty for illegal formation pushes them back. Then another sack. Suddenly it's 4th and 22. You go from knocking on the door to kicking from 30 yards out. That's sloppy football, and it's becoming a trend in this passing offense. What's frustrating is that this wasn't a good Panthers pass defense. Coming into this game, they ranked 26th in the league in expected points allowed per pass. So it's not like Buffalo ran wild against an elite unit and struggled to throw against a lockdown secondary. No. They passed poorly against a bad unit. That's the concern. Yes, injuries have piled up. No Josh Palmer. And obviously, the wide receiver depth isn't where it needs to be. But even with that, Josh Allen missed some throws. Held onto the ball too long at times. Got caught by free rushers. It's not just the receivers. It's not just the quarterback. It's not just the play calling. It's all of it working together or not working really to create this lack of flow. This lack of identity. And it's been a couple games now. You want to see more, and you want to see it fast because the schedule isn't getting any easier. Still, even with the inconsistencies in the air, the offense put up 40 points, moved the ball for over 400 yards, converted over 50% on 3rd down, and I didn't turn the ball over. That's the kind of statistical line that wins games in the NFL, regardless of how it looks on film. They played a clean game, let the defense do its job, and controlled the clock with a punishing ground attack. Speaking of that defense, this was one of the best performances they've had all season. 7 sacks, 3 takeaways, Only 9 points allowed. Just 244 total yards given up. And it wasn't just about dominating a backup quarterback. Although, let's be honest, Andy Dalton looked completely overwhelmed. It was about how the Bills did it. They came out of the bye with new elements across the board, and almost all of them worked. Let's start in the secondary. Maxwell Harrison, the rookie, gets real playing time. Not just garbage time. Real, rotational snaps alongside Tre'Davious White. He came up with a huge solo tackle in the open field, and while the tape will tell more of the story, the early signs are promising. You also saw Jordan Hancock rotate in at safety alongside Jordan Poyer. Taylor Rapp is on injured reserve, so the Bills are looking for answers, and it feels like they might have found a few. Cam Lewis got involved as well. McDermott is clearly experimenting with different looks, and it seems to be working. At linebacker, with both Matt Milano out and Terrell Bernard only available in an emergency, the Bills turned to Dorian Williams and Shaq Thompson. And those guys brought energy. Williams had a huge run stop early. Thompson was active all over the field. Joe Andre also rotated in when the team went to 3 linebacker looks. Despite being down 2 starters, this linebacker group held strong and helped limit a Panthers rushing attack that had been productive in recent weeks. On the defensive line, it was a party. Michael Hoy returned and made an immediate impact. 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble, multiple QB hits. You could feel him every time he was on the field. Greg Rousseau had a sack and a huge forced fumble. A.J. Epinezzo with a pick, and he almost housed it. Jordan Phillips, Joey Bosa, they all got in on the action. This defensive line was relentless. 7 total sacks, 2 fumbles recovered, and constant pressure. You could argue it was their most complete showing of the season. And when you zoom out, Panthers were 4 of 11 on third downs. They averaged under 4 yards per play. Every time it felt like they might build momentum, Buffalo slammed the door shut. It was aggressive, it was physical, and it was fast. The Bills didn't just survive without their top defensive players. They excelled. But not everything was perfect. Taron Johnson had a rough game. It felt like whenever the Panthers completed anything meaningful, it was at his expense. Some of that might have been miscommunication or coverage breakdowns, but he gave up a lot of cushion, and Dalton missed a couple of throws that could have made it worse. He hasn't looked like himself this season, and it's something to monitor going forward. The biggest concern, though, is Ed Oliver. He left the game with a biceps injury and was quickly ruled out. Not a good sign. This is a player who has been one of the Bills' most disruptive defenders when healthy. With Daquan Jones already out, the defensive tackle room is dangerously thin again. It feels like every time they start to get healthy, someone else goes down. The trade deadline is coming up fast, and if this injury is serious, and early signs suggest it might be, Brandon Beane might be shopping for both a wide receiver and a defensive tackle. And now, as the Bills turn their attention to what's ahead, that game against Kansas City looms large. It's always a matchup circled on the calendar, always feels like it means more, and with the playoff picture starting to take shape, this one could carry real weight down the stretch. But before we look too far forward, let's go back and finish unpacking what we just saw. Because while the scoreboard says it was a blowout, and the run game and defense put on a show, there were still moments in this game that felt too close to slipping away, especially in the early stages. Take the second defensive drive, for example. The Bills were moving the ball with ease, chewing up yardage, and setting themselves up with a 3rd and 1 at the Carolina 9-yard line. That's usually automatic for this offense, especially with their version of the tush push and play. But an illegal formation penalty wipes out the opportunity, pushes them back, and suddenly it's 3rd and 6. Then Josh Allen takes a 16-yard sack. In just 2 snaps, they go from potentially setting up 1st and goal to punting from the 30-yard line. Drives like that, the ones that should end in points, have to be cleaned up if this team wants to hang with the elite. There's also a sense that Josh Allen still doesn't quite look comfortable. He's producing touchdowns, no doubt. He found the end zone 3 times in this game, and at times his mobility looked great. But the confidence in the pocket, the trust in his reads, and even the connection with his wideouts, it all seems just a beat off. You can feel it in the way he hesitates, the occasional forced ball, or when he gets caught holding on too long. It's not catastrophic, but it's not smooth either. And the truth is, you don't need Josh Allen to be Superman every week. This one proved that. But when the playoffs arrive, when the opponent is Kansas City or Baltimore or Miami with everything on the line, the Bills need a quarterback firing on all cylinders. That part of this offense just isn't there yet. And when we talk about the passing game's issues, it's impossible not to mention the receiver situation. With no Josh Palmer available, and Stephon Diggs drawing extra attention on every play, the options feel thin. Gabe Davis has been hot and cold all year. Dalton Kincaid has flashed, but wasn't a major factor in this game. Khalil Shakir stepped up, no doubt, but he can't do it all. It's not just about star power, it's about depth. When you get into third and long, who's the guy? Who's creating separation? Who's making the tough contested catch? Right now, that answer feels shaky, and it's part of the reason Buffalo is struggling to find consistency through the air. So while James Cook's dominance on the ground is a major plus, it doesn't solve the long-term issue. You need a passing game that can keep up when defenses sell out to stop the run. All that brings us back to the trade deadline. With November 4th just days away, it feels like Buffalo is going to have to make a move. Maybe two. A wide receiver with reliable hands and the ability to win one-on-one battles on the outside could unlock this offense. And with Ed Oliver's biceps injury hanging over the defensive line like a dark cloud, help on the interior might be just as urgent. Brandon Beane has never been afraid to be aggressive, and now might be the moment to go for it. This team is close. Not perfect, but close. And the right addition or two could be the difference between a divisional round exit and a real shot at a Super Bowl. Now back to the defense for a second, because while the numbers were dominant, it was the how that stood out. From the jump, you could tell this group came in with a chip on their shoulder. The tackling was sharper, the communication cleaner, the pass rush more coordinated. McDermott dialing up pressures and mixing personnel was exactly what this unit needed after some sluggish showings earlier in the season. Greg Rousseau looked like a monster again, long, athletic, constantly in the backfield. Michael Hoy coming back and making an immediate impact was huge. Epeneza continues to build on what's shaping up to be the best season of his career. And with Von Miller still not at full speed, getting production from those rotational guys is critical. But the biggest shift might be at linebacker. Losing Matt Milano was devastating. There's no replacing what he brings to the table in terms of instincts, sideline-to-sideline speed, and leadership. And Terrell Bernard, who had been stepping into a bigger role, wasn't available for this one outside of an emergency situation. So what do the Bills do? They roll out Shaq Thompson, Dorian Williams, and Joe Andre. And they play fast, they play smart, and they play together. That's coaching. That's depth. And that's the kind of performance that can stabilize a unit when things feel like they're unraveling. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers from the Bills sideline are starting to stir a quiet storm in Buffalo. Sources close to the team suggest tension has flared between quarterback Josh Allen and head coach Sean McDermott during recent games, centered around a very specific but crucial aspect of play calling: fourth down decisions. According to insiders, Allen has been increasingly vocal about wanting to take matters into his own hands, pushing for more fourth down attempts than the coaching staff is comfortable with. The usually composed McDermott, known for his measured and methodical approach, has reportedly pushed back, preferring to stick to conventional wisdom rather than gamble in high-stakes situations. The friction, according to those in the know, has sometimes escalated to heated moments over the headset during games. Teammates have noticed Allen's frustration when his requests are denied, and there are murmurs that the quarterback feels constrained by the current system. The Bills have built much of their offensive identity around Allen's dynamic arm and mobility, yet this very talent is at the center of a subtle power struggle. Analysts are now wondering if this tug-of-war could influence play calling in crucial moments, particularly as Buffalo eyes another deep playoff run. Fans on social media have picked up on the tension, dissecting game footage for every indication of disagreement between quarterback and coach. The debate has sparked speculation. Will the Bills start taking more fourth down risks, or will McDermott's cautious philosophy prevail? The answers could define the trajectory of the team this season. One thing is certain, inside sources suggest that the headset chatter is no longer just routine communication. It's a battleground of ideas, ego, and ambition. As Buffalo's marquee player seeks to assert control in crunch-time situations, the league is watching closely, wondering whether this dynamic could either catalyze the team to greatness or quietly undermine cohesion. For now, the rumor mill churns, fans whisper, and every fourth down play carries an extra layer of intrigue. In a league defined by calculated risks and split-second decisions, the tension between Allen and McDermott is becoming the storyline that could overshadow any stat line. Whether this will explode into a full-blown conflict or simply fuel a more aggressive offensive philosophy remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The Bills' sideline has never been more compelling off the field than it is right now. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.